Well, I used to love live, you know, being either on camera or on stage. But I've just found now, at this age, it's a little harder. I don't have the energy. So I love doing voice work because it doesn't take that much time. It's highly imaginative and creative, and I can dress any way I want. Yes, sir.
Big fan of yours. Thank you for coming so much. When you worked on He-Man, you worked with John Mer-man, who did He-Man, obviously.
Yes.
But he's notorious for never attending any conventions, or you kind of look him up online and see pictures of him. It's like he's disappeared from the face of the planet. Do you know why that is and why he never comes out?
Yes, he's very shy. And I tried to get him to go to London with me. And the first time I did it, I said, if Skeletor and He-Man worked together, the line would be, you know, from London to Edinburgh. He just wouldn't do it. And I've tried, last year, I went to visit him, he lives in Thousand Oaks in the retirement community. And again, I tried to get him, I said, John, and he hesitated. I thought maybe I convinced him, but no. He really likes his solitude. And he says, I don't even look like He-Man. I said, I don't look like Skeletor, and nobody cares. But they can't get him out. He's very shy. He really is.
What's he like in real life? Is he a nice guy?
Pardon me?
What's he like in real life?
Oh, he's a wonderful man. Wonderful man. Brilliant. He paints. He likes to paint. He's a painter. And one of his bedrooms is filled with easels and paints and all of that. He's a solitary man. And he reads a great deal. And he loves his privacy.
Also, I was wondering if you could speak about your time on Transformers and what it was like working with those guys and doing those characters, and how much do you remember?
I don't remember a lot of Transformers. I know that we're very, the sessions were very fast. And we were left pretty much alone to create what voices we came up with. Maybe Wally Bird would tune a little bit, but mostly we were left pretty much alone in our creativity, and they bought it, so there we are.
Right? Well, that's because he's Warpath and Skeletor.
Hi. I checked on your IMDb like a few days ago, and...
No, it's me, it's not you here.
I checked on it a few days ago, and you were in that show, That Girl, and I noticed that you were attempting as many different characters. So, in show-wise, what do you think was going on with the fact that there's one guy who one day becomes a character, and then the next day comes back as another guy? So what do you think, in show-wise, what do you think the theory was?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because in those days, and then we're talking about 35, 40 years ago, producers and networks were not afraid of the same actor coming back. Even if I did 3 bonanzas in one season, 3 different characters. As a matter of fact, the producer, David Dorkar, finally said to the casting man, "Is this the only actor in Hollywood?" And, but nowadays, they're much more, I don't know, conservative, and they think that the audience will be fooled by seeing somebody, but they don't give the audience credit. They know they're acting.
Well, yeah, there's like this show going on called Warpath and Seaspray, that the same actress is playing multiple different characters, but it's the same person.
Well, I think that's different. They know that she's going to be, but yeah. I mean, this is totally different. I mean,
yeah,
I know in Bonanza, I played a Mexican mayor. Now, I had worked with a lot of these extras in a lot of shows, including That Girl, Get Smart, all of that. And I came out, made up like a Mexican mayor. My daughter was getting married, and they started. So we did a rehearsal. And so I started to talk like that, like a Mexican mayor. And they started to laugh, and I said, "What's the matter? Is something wrong with the accent?" They said, "No, he's just you. We know you." Yeah. So I looked at it when it came on the air, and I looked like a New York Jew in swarthy makeup.
First of all, it's very sad to hear about the passing of Beachcomber. I know you worked with him a lot on information. You did King Brando, and What was he like behind the scenes, and what was it like
He was the absolute sweetheart. He was a wonderful man. I found out, he hired me not knowing that we had actually been in the same college, one floor apart, for 3 of the 4 years I was there. He was a painting and design major, I was an acting major. As a matter of fact, we discovered later on that we dated the same girlfriend. So Lou's dead and she's still alive, what can I tell you? But Lou was a wonderful man, and he appreciated, somebody imitated, and Lou appreciated whatever imagination you brought to a part. When we had the first couple of scripts of He-Man, Skeletor was a straight villain, and now I try to inject comedy into anything that I can. So he had one insult in there, like, I don't know what it was, don't be fooled. So I took that as a cue, and I began to ad-lib other things. Well, they liked it so much, the network did. Then they began to write that. So Skeletor became a true comedic villain, and I think that's why He-Man was unique.
What did you think of Skeletor in the He-Man Share Christmas special, where he became nice and sensitive to the little boy?
Would you ask me that again, please?
If you call the He-Man Share Christmas special?
Christmas special?
Yeah, the He-Man Share Christmas special, where Skeletor helped the puppy, who was really broke.
Yeah.
What do you think of Skeletor as, like, was Skeletor pure evil, or did he have, like, a nice side?
I think Skeletor went crazy for one episode. Right out of character, yes, sir.
And lastly, I was wondering, one of my favorite Transformers characters was Warpath, whom you voiced.
Warpath.
You still remember?
Warpath sound like George C. Scott? That's where I stole it from them. Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. By the way, I worked with George C. Scott in the Hindenburg, and you talk about a sweetheart of a guy. Wonderful man. Yes, sir.
How you doing? 2 questions I got for you, Allan. First one is, I read that when you voiced Man-at-Arms, Cringer, and Skeletor, you would do them all in one take. You preferred that if they had scenes or what have you,
Talk
right?
back and forth with myself.
Yeah, so my first question was that easier for you? Did you prefer that? And I don't know, you can answer that. And then number 2, these conventions are huge. Like, you know, this nostalgia craze is just nuts, right? Have people told you about any, you know, personal problems they were going through at the time? Because, for example, like Larry Kennedy, who did Thundercats, told me that it helped people get through tough times when they were kids, right? Do you have any stories that people shared with you about that?
Yes, it was a real surprise. I think it was the first convention. This has happened 3 or 4 times now, where men in their 40s they came up to me independently at 3 different conventions and said that I'd saved their lives. They were contemplating suicide as children. They came from such dysfunctional families. And there was something in an episode that gave them the courage to go on and change their lives. We do the work, we get paid, we go home. We don't realize that it can have a profound effect on young people. I did a convention last year and 3 Argentine gentlemen were there. And one told me that, one of the 3 said that years ago when he was a child of 7 or 8, they'd gone for an outdoor trip in the forest, and he got separated from his family. He had just seen an episode where the moral at the end was, if you get lost, stay where you are, you'll find me. And he did, instead of wandering around and getting deeper and deeper. And sure enough, they found him and said, I was grateful for that little moral at the end of the story, probably saved me. Those are things you don't know when you're in the show. There was a woman who came up to me last year, and she said, I was severely autistic. She said, but I learned from the show that I could control a lot of that myself. And she said, I did very, very well. What was the first part of the question?
Oh, that's okay. Sorry about the top one. The other one was your voice.
Talk to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I prefer to do that. Because I know the answer I'm going to get. But a lot of people will do one voice all the way through, then go back and do the other voice. Well, if you're answering yourself right away, you have the perfect feed line, so you can respond. So if Skeletor's talking to Mer-man and he says, I want you to go and do the job, and he goes, I don't want to do it now. Oh, don't make me do that. You do what I tell you. Don't ask me to do that, please. It's easier for me to go back and forth, and it really triggers a lot of imagination. I enjoy that. And it's easier for the editor too.
One final thing I thought of, the Toyland was mega successful, probably one of the best during that era. Did you own any action figures? If so, which ones? From the He-Man Masters of the Universe, did you own any of the action figures yourself?
No. But I'll take anything you've got. I can dress in my pajamas, yes. If I don't have to put on makeup, yes. If I can just sit there and be creative in front of the microphone, yes. Are you making me an offer?
More than it in my power.
Hello, Mark.
Hey, how are you, Allan? Two questions for you. Serious one and a fun one. Serious, who were your influences growing up, that made you decide, this is a happy one to take? And well, I'll let you answer that, then I'll ask the fun one.
Well, I've heard from most people who come up to the table today how this work changed their life, motivated them when they were very young. There was no television when I was a boy in the 1930s. Oops, there we go. There was radio. I was a sickly child, spent a lot of time, I had pneumonias and there were no antibiotics, so I was in an oxygen tent for a couple of years off and on. Listen to radio. And I couldn't wait for those afternoon shows. Jack Armstrong, and Don Winslow, The Shadow, and all of that. And I found that I was able to imitate those voices. And so I did that. I entertained friends. As a matter of fact, oh yeah, I was 11 or 12 years old, and for assembly, I put together a radio show, or a push-button radio, where different people would come on. You'd start talking, doing a news broadcast, and here's the opera from and go back and forth. Well, I was a terrible athlete, as I said, because of my sickness. But now, hey, Hoppy's an actor, So I was accepted, and that's how I got my approval, and I loved doing it, and so that's why I became it. But I didn't do voices, per se, until I came to California. I was on stage work.
Now, leading into the stage work, I believe someone told me you had a short-lived career as a pigeon. What was that like for you? And could you imitate it for us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I was working at the Actors Studio in California, and Levinson and Link had written this script, and it called for a pigeon. And the pigeon walked and talked. Well, I'll just show you what I did. I got bigger laughs then.
Thank you, Allan.
You're welcome. Thanks for embarrassing me.
You're welcome.
I actually have two quick questions for you. You played a few different character roles in Star Trek, in The Next Generation, in Deep Space Nine, and Star Trek Voyager. And I was wondering if you had any sort of stand-up memories or any sort of moments from working in those roles that you could share with us.
My greatest memory of working in Star Trek was tedious makeup. I would get to the makeup room at 4 in the morning, and it was a 3 to 4 makeup with prosthetics. never happy with that, but that's what it was. And then I go and do the work. Then I go and sit outside in the fresh air at Paramount and smoke a cigar, and then come back and do it again. I really have no real recollection of what was happening on the set. To me, it was all about makeup and say the lines and go and have a cigar and drink a coffee. I can't help you on that.
And the second one was, in terms of the movie Masters of the Universe, I was wondering if you've ever had a lot of association with Frank Langella and what you thought about his performance in Skeletor, or if you were ever approached, I'm not sure about the history of that, and what you thought about the movie versus the cartoon.
I've known Frank ever since 1967. We were both in the same play at the Art Taper in Los Angeles. And I knew him as an actor. I did not even know that he played Skeletor until somebody told me way after the movie was released. But I understand. He was miscast. But I think he's a wonderful actor. And cast in the right part. But we can't all do everything. Nobody can. And you do get miscast. I was doing a play at the Taper, and the director was giving me direction. I couldn't do it. So after a week, I came to rehearsal one day and I said, I think I'm miscast. He said, oh, I was going to give you a couple more days and then I was going to tell you the same thing. Thanks for broaching it first. So he was grateful and I recognized that he replaced me. You can't do everything. So Frank's a good actor, but he may not have been right.
Thank you.
Hey Allan, thanks for coming out. Real quick. Two questions. First one, it's the 30th anniversary now of Neverending Story. And you played two Spectrums. You played Falcor, a loving Diesel, and more. How did they ask you, or how did they ask you? You can go from one sense of pure evil to what every child loves, ride on a luck dragon.
I was cast as Falcor, and the rock biter came about because Wolfgang said, can you do this? And I looked at the character. And it was just a strict accident. I was cast as Falcor.
The way the Neverending Story has been any relation or any cast reunions or anything?
A year ago, the Brooklyn Academy of Music celebrated the 30th anniversary. They were doing a series of puppetry in motion pictures, and so they chose that. And they asked me to come to New York if I would and do a Q&A. And I did. I saw some movie and did a Q&A, and one person I think had this huge Falcor that he made. So he manipulated it, and I did it. No, I love that character. It's a beautiful movie. Yes, ma'am.
So I just have a question. As an actor, what type of preference, what type of direction do you actually prefer, whether it's stage, television, or voice?
What kind of direction?
Direction. Because I know that, like, for stage, you have bad directors and good directors.
Yeah, it's funny about that, isn't it?
So, I guess leaning towards stage, what, like, preference?
Oh, let me give you, nobody's ever asked me this question, I'm going to tell you right now. I was doing Rudy Wells, what was the name of that series?
The 6 Million Dollar Man.
6 Million Dollar Man, thank you. And a great director, Virgil Vogel, was directing it. Now, Virgil comes from the days of, Howard Hawks and all that, great Western. So and we were rehearsing the scene, and I played Rudy Wells, and I was doing this. I was really laying out. I said, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to make something with these things. He says, this is crap, it's exposition, just get through it. Well, I was just, so when he did the shot, I just went quick. When I saw it, it was the best I'd ever done. Because it was exposition, just get through it. Don't overact, don't try to make too much of it. Virgil was right. As a matter of fact, when I used to do Vanity Smurf, Gordon's I tend to dwell. So good director. I was doing a play, Alan Schneider was directing, a great director, of Alvey and Beckett. And he'd start to give me directions, it was late rehearsal period, and I was listening, trying to find and follow the gist of what he was saying. As we're going circle mode, shooting all over, I couldn't get it. Finally, I said, you mean louder and faster? He said, yes. That's right.
So what you're saying is, for a good director, he just needs to be very clear with you and actually like bring you down to earth whenever you like, get over the top.
Absolutely. And a good movie director will tell you, I cast right and then leave him alone. That's what Clint Eastwood does with Allan. Cast the correct way, trust. That's why I cast you in this part. And leave you alone, just do the camera. First picture I made was Star with Robert Wise, who also directed Sound of Music. So, unfortunately, the first shot of the day, the first shot of the movie was my big scene. So, at the end of the third take of the same scene, I said, what are you looking for here, Robert? He said, better.